Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, July the 5th and it is a lovely sunny day right now. However, they are saying that we should be expecting some rain, so I'm rushing to hurry up and get my Flosstube video done and recorded so that we're not here again under gray skies and potentially thunder and all of the things that go along with rain. So I hope everybody's had a good week. Technically, Jolly July started on Wednesday, so July the 1st. So to all of my Canadian watchers, happy belated Canada Day. I hope you found a way to celebrate given what's going on. And to all of my American viewers, belated happy July the 4th. I hope you also found a way to celebrate. Given everything that's going on and every individual state's restrictions around what you are and are not allowed to do. So I hope everybody found a way to have fun and celebrate. So we are halfway through the year. It's Jolly July. So I am going to talk about Christmas things. I'm going to actually start with a previous finish, which is Christmas related, believe it or not. So it's really little. This is Boughs of Holly. So it's a really little ornament. This is done by the Victoria Sampler, and they come as a gift. And as usual, if you're wondering why I'm spending an inordinate amount of time doing this, is because I'm really hoping that YouTube picks something like this so I can put this as the screenshot. So it comes as a kit from Victoria Sampler, and I was looking on the website before I came on here, so you can actually buy these as downloads, PDF downloads as well. But the kit comes with the fabric, so it's a 6 by 6 inch piece of 25 count white Lugana, and it comes with all of the fibers that you need to make your ornament, and it comes with the charm. And so this is from a collection that they do called Beyond Cross Stitch, and it's all about learning different stitches all the way through things like hardanger and different things that you can do with hardanger. So there's quite a wide variety. I'm going to actually show you the Christmas ones that I have because we're doing Jolly July right now. But they aren't all Christmas related. So you can get things that are, you know, seasonal and floral, and you know, there's all sorts of other things. I'm just choosing to show you the Christmas ones that I have in my collection. And they are a pretty quick stitch, right? So I mean, you can look at that and you go like, that's not like weeks of time. And depending on how fast you stitch, could you knock this out in a day? Sure. Could you knock this out in a couple of days? Anybody? For sure. They're very, very reasonable, but they look quite nice. So the funny thing is when I hauled this out, I was like going, I know it's from the, you know, learning stitches things, and I honestly looked at it and I went, I have no idea what stitch I theoretically was learning while I stitched this particular one. So, which, pros and cons, I don't know what that says about me, but so it actually, when I hauled out the pattern, apparently I was learning French knots. And so, you know, so where are the French knots? The French knots are the berries. So in the four corners and in this bow. So really, it's not like there's 147. You have to do 20 of them. So that's that one. I have other ones, and again, as I said, the ones that I've got in my collection are all Christmas related, and they do have different levels, sort of their assessment of the complexity of the stitch that you're learning. So the French knot is a level 2. It says right on there, level 2. So I do have a level 1. So in this one, you're learning the rice stitch. This is another level 2 one where you're learning the stem stitch. this one is also a level 2 where you're learning the Lazy Daisy stitch. So again, they're just, you know, the finished size of each of these is like 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So again, you know, and as you can see, not the largest. And given that we're in Jolly July, stay tuned for the next couple of things that I'm going to say, because I'm actually leaving some of these kits downstairs. I'm not taking them back up to their spot in the stash. But again, so that's my, and as you can see, I'm really fantastic about finishing things. I have no idea when I did this. It was quite some time ago. But, and to be perfectly honest, in my head, the reason why I didn't finish it off is because I knew that I had the 3 other kits. And I went, I'll finish the 3 other ones, and then once I'm done the 3 other ones, then I will go and I will finish them all the same way. So clearly 1, and then, you know, 472 years later, I haven't done 2, 3, and 4, and so nothing gets finished. That's just how I roll. Anyway, so that's my previous finish for this week's Jolly July. What have I been stitching this week? So keeping with the theme of Jolly July, and this will come as no surprise to any of you who have watched any of my previous videos. Wait, let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3. The Marbeck Nativity. So here we are again. My big infamous, what am I working on? I'm working on the star. No big surprise. Is the star done yet? Of course not. No big surprise. So, what did I do this week? So, as discussed before, so I worked on this lovely big center column. So I have taken it, originally I think I had talked about that I was going to finish all of that color and be done with it. And then I changed my mind, as I usually do every week when you come back here and I don't do exactly what I said I was going to do. So I have taken it, this last row here, because of course I can't see what I'm doing. So the last stitch there, that is the last row before, like the very next row is the top of Joseph's head. And so I did that specifically because what I'm going to do is, so my next task is I'm going to start working on the 32, number 32 blending filament, which comes all the way down the sides. It's hard to tell because it's, you know, pale white. So I'm gonna do that all the way down the sides, all the way to the bottom of those ones. And the reason why this becomes a critical piece is because for this part, as this comes down, once you get the 32 blending filament done, from the center of the star out to where that is, that's all this color, period, full stop. That's all it is. So it really just becomes in a fill-in exercise. But of course, once you get to Joseph's head, it starts to split as you go around the figure. So there's Joseph and there's Mary over here, and so then it becomes less fill-in. So I went down to here because then when I do this, it's just a matter of fill-in, and then I know exactly where to stop and start paying attention and needing to count. So the plan for this week is that I'm going to work on the 32 blending filament down the sides, and for those ones I will take them all the way to the bottom of this star. But then when I get into this fill-in, you know, again, I'll fill in as much as I can. So that's what I did on the Nativity. It doesn't look like a ton of progress for a week, and that's because I stitched on something else. So Jolly July started on Wednesday. So between Sunday night, Monday, and Tuesday, I had some stitching time where I went, maybe you should give yourself a break. See how that goes. So I went back to something not Christmas related, because I went, you know, when you hit July, you've said you're doing your version of Jolly July. So once you hit July, you're going to have to work on something Christmas related, which when you go back and if you look at my starts in Mania, almost none of them were Christmas related. Actually, I think none of them were Christmas related, to be perfectly honest, so it's not like I can go back and pick one of those up. So I thought I would work on one of my Mania starts and see what happened with it. So I went back to Little House Needleworks, Music and Books. And so I was originally just going to sit down and stitch for a bit, and then I just went, no, you're going to feel really accomplished if you actually finish it. So I finished it. So there it is. I have a finish. Okay, Nativity's not getting finished for a long time, but I have a finish. So here's Music and Books on, I think it's a 32 count linen. To be perfectly honest, this was an unlabeled linen in my stash, but clearly would be sufficient for the size of this. So what did I change? Because of course we all know that I change things. So on this one, surprisingly, I didn't change an overwhelming amount. I talked about this the last time, so I did add an extra string into my double base over here, just because it made me feel better. I don't think you can even actually see it when you're standing far away, but for me, I felt better about having it at least not look like it's just two strings, because that's not really how it works. I did change the color for the word music and for these flowers, and so that's a DMC 3803, and I chose that color because that's the closest DMC color to the wall color in my music room. So for anybody watching, yeah, I'm not good with beige. I'm not good with beige and brown and all those really glorious things, and I tend to go for intense colors and colors for sure, and every room in my house I feel is a different color, but that works for me. So that's why the choice of that particular color, you know, when I was coming over here to stitch the back stitching here over here on the music stand, you know, it's always the debate when you get those ones where it's just like 3 lines across. It's like, well, do I just do a long stitch across, or do I actually treat this like back stitch? So I did what, you know, those of us that are anal about some of our stuff, I went, well, I'm going to try it the easiest way first, and if I don't like it, I'll go back and do the other way. So I did. I went in and I stitched all 3 of them as just straight long stitches across, and I didn't like how it looked. So 3 long stitches is really easy to undo, and so I came back, and so I actually treated that like a proper back stitch. So I also changed the color of the book down here. So this is 3802 because I wasn't paying attention to my DMC color card, because I went, it's just a darker version of this, which if you actually look at a DMC color card, that's not true. They don't sit next to each other. But I'd already stitched this, then I found out it was 3860, not 3865, 3856, I don't know, something like that. And I went, I don't care enough at that point. Nobody's going to sit there and go like, how dare this not be the darker version of that. It's going into a room where, you know, generally, you know, it's not like the room gets tons and tons of visitors. So there we go. So I say it's complete. It's technically not quite complete because I do put my initials and date things, and so I am planning on putting my initial and date just here underneath the stool, and I am planning on doing it in the gray that I put around this keyboard, so it should be fairly muted. But there you go. I finished it to completion. So it took me probably I think it was all 3 nights to get that accomplished. You know, doing this crazy border. Yeah, that's only about 500 stitches there. So anyway, but it's finished. So I get to say one of my Mania starts is now complete. 6 things that I was working in Mania. One of them, I'm calling this complete. The butterfly square is technically not complete because I have not put the beads on that. I seriously thought when I said you should just do something different, I seriously thought about going on and putting the beads on there. But since I've said that I'm going to do another one, the beads are annoying because there's like you know, 2 beads here, 2 beads there, blah, blah. And that stuff annoys me. I figured I might as well sit down and do it on 2 of them as opposed to doing it one and then coming back and going, oh yeah, I hate those beads. So I'm not going to put the beads on that one until I've finished the second one. But I technically have a finish. So there we go. This could be the shortest floss tube yet. So that's my stitching for this week. I will talk about one other thing quite quickly. I was going through Facebook, Instagram. I always lose track of where I find these things. Somebody out there in the lovely stitching community is stitching one of the Long Dog samplers. It's one of the smaller ones. It's a series, there's 4 patterns that come together. I don't remember what the name of it is. But she was stitching it, like the picture came up and I was like going, I love that. And I always like when people explain the overdyed flosses that they're using because it looked fantastic. And as soon as I read it, I went, oh, I have that in my collection because I think it's a brilliant color. So I've also decided my reward for finishing this center panel is that I'm going to get to start something new, specifically using this thread. So this is from Caron. This is Caron Waterlilies, number 281. And it is called Hudson Bay. And it stitches up beautifully. It is fantastic. So then, of course, I got completely distracted. So this is last night. I got completely distracted, and then I was, you know, going through things. And so I'm debating ink circles, Baroque in this. And, of course, we always have my favorite on Etsy, Lena. I was back on Lena's site. And I know I downloaded that pattern that, you know, it was an economical pattern and it was all good and, you know, but I have a very specific color palette in my head for that particular design. And so I did go back and I looked at it and went, you've already bought this, you've downloaded it, you're ready to go. And I looked at it and said, no, this is, as much as I love this, this is not the right colors for that particular design according to me. So I was going through her, so I've got a couple of things on there. The problem is that, of course, you know, the larger the design, so Baroque is 251 by 251. So over 2 on 28, you need 14 skeins of DMC to do it. So it would take quite a lot of this. And I don't think I have enough of it to do one quite that big. And then, of course, once you get into sort of talking those kinds of numbers, you really need to make sure that you get them from the same dye lot. You know, over dye, as much as everybody tries to do their best to try to keep them consistent, welcome to, you know, over dyed anything, over dyed threads, over dyed fabrics. What you get can change. That's just the nature of the process. So that's the other one that's coming into consideration, is just how much I have. And so I do have more than one skein, you know, because I'm obsessive about weird things where I go like, I love this, I love this, I love this. And now that I've seen somebody stitching it and it stitches up, I loved it. I just looked at it and went, oh my goodness, you have to do something using that thread. You have to start using it. So that's my carrot, that once I complete that center panel, which, okay, it's not happening like anytime soon. I don't stitch as fast as Gary. I kept consoling myself with the fact that you're using the Krynic blending filament, and I have acknowledged to myself that I stitch much slower when I'm using that because I'm having to be very careful about how I'm doing anyway, etc. Long story short, anywho. So, but this is going to be the carrot. Soon as I finish that center panel, I'm starting something new, and it's going to be using this. So I have between now and whenever I finish that, and I will say there's a wrinkle in what I'm calling the finish, and we'll talk when we get even remotely closer to that. We'll talk about that, but we're a long ways away from that. So that's my carrot. I get to spend time between now and then thinking about how I'm going to use this, because I really want to use it because it looks fantastic. So I don't have any haul this week. My expectation is that I think that there should be haul next week. I had ordered some things from my LNS, and I think that some of them have started to arrive, so I wouldn't be surprised if by next week I have some haul to show. Might have ordered a new pattern, who knows, check back next week. So should have, in my head I'm thinking I should have some haul next week. Won't be, dramatic. According to me, I don't think it'll be dramatic, because again, we've still got gigantic backlogs in the system, and again, I'm terrible at remembering where I see and I hear things from, but I remember watching somebody else on Flosstube this week, which was talking about, the backlogs in the system, and, Poor Silks for You. I think they did a posting where they said they've got 440 pounds of silk waiting to be shipped to them. Now, whether it's in the system and because of how slow shipping is, or custom complications in Australia, or who knows? I can't speak to any of that, but I just read it and went, 440 pounds of this. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And somebody, and again, this was a fabric dyer where they were going, oh my goodness, we finally got a shipment in of base fabric for 2 specific counts. And again, people had ordered and they'd left those things up on their site because how slow the supply chain got through this COVID episode that we're going through. Nobody would have foreseen it. Nobody saw exactly how slow it was going to get. So it was interesting watching that one where they were like, okay, these 2 counts. And, when they finally figured out how bad it was going to be and how long it was going to take for them to get fabrics, I think they shut your ability to buy those 2 counts of fabric on their website. But until then, they'd went, it's backlogged. It's back ordered. Nobody said it was going to take them 3 months before the back order was going to show up, right? So anyway, again, it's my line for, I think, as long as the pandemic is going on, let's all practice the art of patience, and we'll get through all of this, and hopefully stitching is going to help make it better. Which reminds me, I was going to go back to why am I leaving my lovely little kits down here. So I did discover that I enjoyed, I talk about this all the time and then I don't follow what I say I'm going to do. So, that's typical. So I did discover that I enjoyed working on something not Marbeck related. And so I have decided that, on that star, so as I come down the 2 sides here, so 32 down this side, 32 down the side. So when I do the 32 down this side, the next night I get to stitch on something else, not Marbeck related, for that night of stitching. So I do have something else Christmas related, and I'm debating. So I've got a couple of other Christmas related ones, as I said to you before. But now that I hauled this out to show a previous finish, I am looking at this going like, really? I was looking at them going, I don't know that I can actually finish that one in one night, but I don't know. I'm actually looking at this one saying like, so if I started this, so I did one night when I finished like the right hand side, and I did one night after I did the left hand side. I bet you I could get a decent way on that. Things to think about. So that's how I think I'm gonna treat myself, sort of say do one side, and then the next night you're working on something that's absolutely not Marbeck related, and then do the other side, and then spend the next evening doing something that's completely not Marbeck related. Because I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy that break. You know, but again, to finish off music and books, I spent 3 nights. So, and I think three nights is too long for me, because then I will probably leads me towards you're enjoying this more than you should. So I think if I just did 1 night, then I will. Anyway, so that's what I'm thinking. So I'm leaving these downstairs because I might start them. Like I say, I have two other Christmas related projects that I already have started and on the go. One of them I showed a really long time ago, probably back in, well, a really long time ago. I've only been doing this since April, so back in April I think I showed it on one of them. So I'm having that debate. Anyway, we'll see what I do, whether I try and do something quick or whether I go back to an existing pre-started project. Check back. But again, carrot coming, Hudson Bay, it's really lovely. Really, really lovely. Love this. Anyway, so that's it for this week. I hope you've all had a good week. I hope you all are going to be safe and find something enjoyable to stitch on. And as I've said before, feel free to ask any questions or comments or put them down below. More than happy to answer questions that you've got. And I hope you all have a really good week. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks for stopping by.